thrown like trash. The cold wind blew through the silver streets of Varel 9, one of the richest alien cities in the galaxy. Bright towers touched the sky, flying ships hummed above, and elegant aliens walked in golden robes. But down below, at the back of a marble palace, a gate opened with a loud clang. Guards stepped out. Between them was a thin alien girl, her arms tied, her skin dull gray, and her head low. "She's useless," one of the guards said. "Ugly, too," another laughed. The girl didn't speak. She just stood there, shaking in the cold wind. Her name was Zera. She had been born into the noble house of Zurak, but unlike her shining brothers and sisters, Zera's skin didn't glow. Her eyes didn't sparkle. Her body was weak. Her voice was soft. Her family said she was broken, and now they were throwing her away. One of the guards pushed her hard. She fell onto the dirty stone road outside the palace. "Don't come back," they spat. "You're not part of the family anymore." The heavy gate slammed shut. Zera lay there for a long time. Her knees were scraped. Her arms hurt. But worst of all, her heart felt empty. She looked up. No one helped. No one cared. Aliens walked by dressed in fine clothes. Some stared. One woman said to her child, "Look away, she's filth." Zera crawled into a corner beside a trash bin. The bin was full of spoiled food, broken tech, and things no one wanted, just like her. Night came fast. The streets became quiet. The lights dimmed. Cold rain began to fall. Zera curled up, her arms around her legs, trying to stay warm. Her stomach growled. Her head ached. She hadn't eaten all day. She thought she would die. Maybe that was what her family wanted. I'm nothing," she whispered. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the empty alley. Zera didn't move. Maybe it was a thief, or someone worse. The steps stopped right in front of her. A deep voice spoke. "Are you alive?" Zera opened one eye. It was a human. She had seen pictures before, but this was the first time she saw one in real life. He had a beard, strong arms, and eyes full of something strange. Kindness. She backed away, weakly. "Don't touch me," she hissed. The man raised his hands. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt you." He took off his long coat and gently placed it over her shoulders. She flinched. He crouched beside her. "I'm Jack. I fix ships around here." Zera didn't answer. She just stared. Jack looked at her arms. "You're freezing. Are you hungry?" Still, she said nothing. He pulled out a small food pack from his jacket and placed it on the ground. Then he stood up. "You don't have to trust me," he said, "but don't die here." He turned to walk away. Zera's hands slowly moved to the food. Her fingers trembled. She took one bite, then another. Then she finished the whole thing fast, like a starving animal. Jack turned back and saw it. He smiled. "Come with me," he said. "I've got more food and a warm room, just for tonight." Zera's eyes narrowed. "Why? You want to sell me?" Jack raised an eyebrow. "Sell you? You're not a thing." She blinked. No one had ever said that to her. She stood, up slowly. Her legs were weak, but she followed him. Jack's place was small. Old tech parts lay everywhere, but it was warm, and it smelled like oil and soup. He gave her a blanket. She sat in a corner. Jack placed a bowl of food near her and walked away to work on a broken engine. Zera stared at the food. Then she looked at him. He didn't even watch her. No chains, no threats, no cage, just silence and soup. She picked up the bowl and ate. Hours passed. Jack didn't speak much. He didn't ask questions. When it was time to sleep, he gave her his bed and lay down on the floor with just a pillow. Zera couldn't sleep. She watched him from the bed. What kind of man does this? She thought. He doesn't even know me. She held the blanket tight and closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel completely worthless. Zera woke up slowly, unsure where she was. Warmth. A soft blanket. The smell of eggs and something else. Sweet and smoky. She sat up fast. The small room was filled with strange human tools, blinking lights, and machines she didn't understand. But what caught her attention was the human, Jack. He stood at a stove cooking. "You're awake," he said calmly, without turning around. "Thought you might sleep longer." Jara didn't answer. She kept her eyes on him. Her claws slowly extended. She didn't trust kindness. She had learned the hard way. It always came with a price. Jack turned and placed a hot plate near her bed. "You didn't eat much last night. Try this." Jara picked it up carefully. She sniffed it. It smelled good. She looked at him. "Why are you doing this?" Jack shrugged. "You looked like you needed help." "No one helps for free," she said coldly. "I'm not no one," he replied with a small smile. That made her suspicious. Too calm. Too nice. She took a bite anyway. The food was hot and soft and unlike anything she'd ever eaten. She hated it. She hated how her body relaxed, how the warmth filled her stomach, how the bed was soft, how the humans smiled without asking for anything. She hated it because she liked it. Later that day, while Jack worked on a broken drone, Jara watched him from a corner. He didn't ask her name. He didn't stare at her scars. He didn't flinch when she showed her claws. To test him, she walked up behind him silently and bit his hand. Not hard enough to break it, but hard enough to see what he'd do. Jack froze. Then he turned his head, raised his eyebrows, and laughed. "Well," he said, holding his hand, "that's a first. Next time, just ask if you want attention." Jara blinked. "You're not angry?" He grinned. "You didn't bite deep. And I've been stung by worse." She didn't know what to say. No one had ever reacted like that before. Others screamed. Others hit. Others locked her up. This one laughed. That evening, Jack gave her a data pad. It had pictures of human tools and words beside them. "What is this?" she asked. "Basic human tech terms," he replied. "Figured if you're staying, you might want to understand some things." Jara frowned. "I'm not staying." Jack didn't even look up. "Okay." She narrowed her eyes. "You're not going to stop me?" "Nope. But while you're here, might as well learn something useful." Jara stared at the screen. The words were strange. She didn't know the sounds. But the pictures helped. She tapped one. "Wrench," she said slowly. Jack smiled. "That's right." Her chest felt warm again. Days passed. Jara didn't leave. She told herself it was only until she had enough strength, only until she found a way to steal some credits, only until she felt safe. But each day, something changed. One night she found Jack asleep in his chair, engine parts on his lap. His face looked tired. She placed a blanket over him. Quietly. Gently. She didn't know why. The next morning, they went to the market. Jara wore a scarf Jack gave her to cover her face. The streets were crowded with alien merchants, traders, and soldiers. Everyone ignored Jack, but Jara noticed the stares. One old woman whispered, "Isn't that the Jurak girl?" Another spat on the ground. "They should have finished her." Jack heard them. He turned to Jara. "Ignore them." Jara's hands shook. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. Jack reached into a stand and picked up a sweet yellow fruit. "Ever tried this?" he asked casually. She didn't answer. He handed it to her anyway. "Bite it." She bit. Juice dripped down her chin. It was the best thing she'd ever tasted, but the whispering got louder. A merchant pointed at her. "She's supposed to be dead," he said. "Why is she walking with a human?" Jara dropped the fruit. A hand gently took hers. "Jack." He looked around and said loud and clear, "She's with me." The market went silent. Jara froze. She'd never belonged to anyone. Now someone claimed her, not as property, but as a person. That night, back in the workshop, she asked, "Do you know who I am?" Jack looked at her. "No," he said. "But I know what I see now. Jara sat on the floor and whispered, "They threw me away." Jack said softly, "Then they're blind, because I see someone strong." It had been 17 days since Jack found her. Jara kept count, not because she wanted to stay, but because she had never survived this long without being thrown out. Every day started the same way. Jack woke up early, made food, fixed machines, played old music that hummed softly in the air, and every day Jara found herself watching him longer. He didn't act like the others. He didn't ask her to bow. He didn't stare at her scars. He didn't tell her what she should be. He just let her be. One morning, Jack held out a small box to her. "It's yours," he said. Jara opened it slowly. Inside was a tiny mirror, cracked, old, but clean. She had never owned a mirror. Her people only gave mirrors to daughters they believed were beautiful. She stared at the reflection. Big, slanted eyes. Gray skin. Faint white lines along her cheekbones. Her hair, once tangled, now braided neatly. Jack had taught her how. Her fingers touched the mirror, then her face. She didn't cry, but something inside her cracked open. "I'm not beautiful," she whispered. Jack looked at her. "Then your mirror must be broken." That evening, Jack invited her to help fix a sky bike. Jara said nothing, but she followed him outside. The wind was cool, and the sky held 2 purple moons. Jack placed a biao tool in her hand. "Hold this steady," he said. She crouched beside him. Her fingers were clumsy, her grip was weak. She dropped the tool twice. The third time she growled and threw it away. "I can't do this," she shouted. Jack looked at her calmly. "You weren't born knowing how. Neither was I." She stood up, breathing hard. "I was born wrong, that's what they told me." Jack wiped his hands and walked over to her. "They were wrong." She turned away. "You don't understand. I was supposed to shine. My sisters glowed by age 6. I was cold. I was dim. I was forgotten." Jack walked to the scattered tool and picked it up. "What if your shine doesn't look like theirs?" Jara didn't answer, but she sat back down, and this time, she held the tool steady. Later that night, she stared at the cracked mirror again. Her skin still looked dull, but her eyes had a new light. The next day, Jack asked, "Want to come with me to the scrap market?" Jara hesitated. "Out there?" she asked. He nodded. "You can wear the cloak again. I won't let anyone bother you." She looked down at her hands, then nodded. The market was loud and full of strange smells. Spice smoke, engine oil, sizzling street food. Jara stayed close to Jack. People stared, not just at her, but at the way Jack spoke to her like she was equal. A group of young aliens passed them and laughed. "Hey human, you fixing her for parts?" Jara's chest tightened. Jack didn't stop walking, but he said loud and clear, "Nope, just helping her fix her life." Jara blinked. The boys stopped laughing. At a quiet corner of the market, Jara found a booth selling old tech. She pointed at a dusty plasma coil. "That might work for the broken heater," she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're learning." She smiled. "A real one." The merchant stared at her. "Wait a minute, aren't you—" Jara dropped the coil and stepped back. Jack stepped in front of her. "She's with me. Got a problem?" The merchant shook his head fast. Jara whispered, "They remember me." Jack didn't move. "Then, make them remember you differently." Back at the workshop, Jack handed her a set of old tools. "Yours," he said. Jara stared at them. "You're giving these to me?" "Tools don't care who holds them," Jack said. "They just do the work." She picked one up and tested the grip. It fit. That night, Jara didn't sleep in the corner. She slept on the bed, and Jack didn't stop her. She placed the mirror beside her pillow and whispered to the ceiling, "I'm not useless." And her voice didn't shake. It was a day like any other. Jack cleaned out rusted coils while Zara fixed a cracked power cell using her new tools. The workshop was filled with the soft buzzing of machines, the smell of metal and heat, and the quiet hum of a girl finding purpose. "I need a stabilizer from the lower bazaar," Jack said, wiping his hands. "I'll come with you," Zara replied. Jack looked up, surprised. "You sure?" She nodded. "I want to walk through the city without hiding." Jack smiled. The lower bazaar was alive with sound. Traders shouted prices, robotic vendors flashed lights, and alien children ran through the crowd laughing. Zara walked beside Jack, not behind, not under a cloak. She wore a simple shirt Jack had sewn from scraps. Her dull skin was clean. Her strange eyes focused forward. She didn't notice the stares at first. But they noticed her. A woman dropped a bag of fruit. A man grabbed his son's arm and said, "Don't go near her." And then came the whisper, "That's the one they left to die." Jurak's shame. Zara froze mid-step. Jack heard it too. He turned quickly, but the whisper was gone in the wind. Zara's hands trembled. Jack leaned close. "We can go back if you want." "No," she said, voice low. "Let them look, I'm not running." They reached the merchant stall. An older alien, green-skinned and fat, leaned over the table. His eyes scanned Zara. His grin turned cruel. "Well, well, the little waste girl walks again. We all heard you were thrown to the frost." Zara said nothing. The merchant chuckled. "They must be desperate to let you live." Jack stepped in. "Do you have the stabilizer or not?" The merchant smirked. "Of course, for 10 credits. Jack narrowed his eyes. "It costs 5. 10, because I don't sell to trader trash for cheap," he said, nodding at Zara. Before Jack could answer, Zara stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "Then keep it." She turned and walked away. Jack followed, proud. Back at the workshop, she paced. "Why do they still care?" she asked. "I'm nothing to them." Jack set the tools down. "Maybe they don't like what you've become." "What is that?" "Alive." Zara looked at him, confused. Jack continued. "You were supposed to die, but you didn't. Now they have to face what they threw away." She sat down, frustrated. "But I'm still scared, still angry, still broken." Jack sat beside her. "You know what I see?" She looked up. He said softly, "I see someone stronger than every single one of them. Because you didn't stay broken." That night, she dreamed of her old home. Cold, marble floors, silver bowls she was never allowed to touch. Her sisters dancing in gowns while she scrubbed floors like a servant. And the voice of her mother, "You don't shine. You shame us." Zara woke up gasping. She walked outside. The stars above Varel 9 blinked gently, like eyes that didn't judge. She sat on the rooftop, hugging her knees. Minutes passed. Jack climbed up beside her. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. She shook her head. "I keep wondering," she whispered, "if maybe I really don't belong anywhere." Jack was quiet for a moment, then he said, "I think you're building a new place. Right here." She looked at him. "You really believe that?" He smiled. "I don't take in strangers. I take in family." Zara turned away, but a tear slipped down her cheek anyway. Later that week, more whispers spread. "She's alive? Is she dangerous now? Maybe she has secrets, powers." Zara didn't hide. She walked the market again with her head up, and some, just a few, began to whisper something else. "She's not what they said." The storm came with no warning. One moment, Jack and Zara were laughing. He had burned his hand trying to cook something called grilled toast, and she was trying not to smile. The next moment, the front door slammed open. 3 alien guards in black and silver armor entered the workshop. Their symbols were clear: House Jurak, Zara's bloodline. Jack stepped forward. "You're not welcome here." One of the guards raised a shiny hollow badge. "We're not here for you. We've come for her." Zara stood still. The room felt cold. You've made a mistake, she said flatly. The tallest guard spoke with a sharp tongue. No mistake. The council has changed its mind. You are now valuable. Shara's breath caught. Because I look better now? Because a political deal has opened, he replied. Your name can serve us again. Her voice trembled. You abandoned me. You weren't useful, he said simply. Now you are. Jack stepped between them. She's not going anywhere with you. The guard laughed. She's Jurak blood. You have no say. Jara didn't move. She looked at Jack, then back at the guards. I won't go, she said. The guards' faces darkened. This isn't a choice. Later, after, they left with warnings and threats. Jara sat in silence. Jack placed a mug of warm tea in her hands. You okay? She stared at the steam. Why now? Jack answered quietly. Because you grew. You healed. You became something they couldn't ignore. Jara looked up. I hate that. I hate that they only want me now. Jack nodded. That's not love, that's control, she whispered. They want to use me like a coin. Jack leaned back. Then maybe it's time they saw what kind of fire they threw away. That night she didn't sleep. She stood in front of the mirror, the one Jack gave her. Her hand touched the faint white marks on her cheek. She spoke softly. I'm not going back. But inside, she was scared. What if they forced her? What if Jack got hurt? The next morning, a message blinked on Jack's datapad. A high invitation. House Jurak will offer a formal place for Jara in the marriage council. Rejecting this offer may result in legal consequences. Jara read it twice. They want to marry me off? Jack read it again. It's politics. They see you as a tool now. She clenched her fists. They want me to smile in front of cameras, to pretend they never hurt me. Jack nodded. That's their plan. Jara asked, what if I say no? Jack shrugged. Then we might have a problem. Jara stood up. Her eyes didn't tremble this time. Then let's give them a bigger one. The guards came back the next day, this time with papers, documents, authority. Jara didn't wait for Jack to speak. She walked out on her own, chin up. I have one question, she said. The head guard nodded. Speak. Jara's voice was calm but icy. Where were you when I begged for food on the street? When I was sick, cold, nearly dead? No one answered. She took a step forward. You didn't check on me for over a year, and now I have healthy skin, sharper eyes, and a spine you didn't break, so now I'm welcome? Still silence. Jara turned to Jack. You saved me, he smiled. You saved yourself. I just held the door open. She faced the guards again. My answer is no. The guards gave one last warning. You'll regret this. Jack stepped forward, arms crossed. She won't be alone. The guards left. But war had begun. That night, the stars outside the workshop seemed dimmer. Jara whispered, They'll try again. Jack nodded. Then let them. Jara closed her eyes. They threw me away. Now they want to wear me like a badge. She looked at the mirror again. This time she smiled. I'm not their badge. I'm their mistake. The rain hit hard that night. Wind howled outside the workshop, rattling the roof like claws scraping metal. Jara sat on the floor with her tools scattered around her, trying to focus, trying to breathe. Jack had gone to pick up supplies, but she knew something was wrong. Too quiet, too cold. Then the warning came. Jack's old friend Ryan, a junk trader with too many ears in too many places, sent a voice message through the comm system. Jara, listen carefully. Soldiers from House Jurak just left the city core. Not officials this time, not guards. These ones don't carry paper, they carry stun rods. Jara didn't freeze. She stood. Her eyes were calm, focused. She grabbed her coat and Jack's old shock pistol from the drawer. Her hands didn't even shake. 20 minutes later, Jack stormed through the door. Pack what you need, he said. Now? I already did. Zara replied, standing ready with a bag over her shoulder. Jack blinked. You knew? Ryan warned me. Jack smiled, half proud, half worried. Then let's move. They didn't take the main road. They cut. Through alleys, across dark bridges, through foggy vents and service tunnels beneath the city. Jack knew the paths. Zara knew the shadows, but they didn't move fast enough. Above them, drones buzzed. Below them, metal boots echoed. Jack pulled Zara into an old repair shed and shut the door softly. She looked at him. We can't outrun them. Jack didn't argue. Footsteps approached. They weren't guards this time, they were hunters. Fast, silent, trained. Zara held her breath. Jack motioned for silence and pointed to a vent on the wall. Small, narrow. You'll fit. Go. She shook her head. What about you? He smiled. I'll stall them. I've done worse. No. Zara, I'm not running again. Before Jack could stop her, Zara turned, kicked open the back door of the shed and stepped into the rain. The hunters spotted her instantly. She stood tall, eyes glowing faintly in the dark storm, her gray skin slick with water. One of the soldiers stepped forward. You are claimed by House Jurak. Come quietly. Zara raised Jack's pistol. You're too late. I was claimed by kindness first. They laughed. She fired. The first blast hit a soldier square in the chest. He fell backward with a grunt. The second soldier rushed, but Jack tackled him from behind, smashing a metal pipe across his back. The third lunged toward Zara, swinging a stun rod, and Zara moved like lightning. Not because she was fast, but because she was no longer afraid. She ducked, grabbed his arm, twisted, and threw him to the ground with all her strength. The rain poured. The street was silent. Jack breathed hard, bruised, but grinning. Zara stood tall over the fallen men. Still. Think I'm useless? She asked softly. Later that night, they hid inside an old power station far outside the city limits. Jack patched his bleeding arm with scraps of cloth. Zara sat beside him, quiet. I didn't think you'd stand and fight, he said. She looked at him. Neither did I. He laughed a little, wincing from the pain. They'll come again. Let them. She opened her bag and pulled out the cracked mirror. She looked at her reflection, drenched, scratched, stronger than ever. I'm not running anymore, she whispered. I know, Jack said. That's what scares them. At dawn, a small message blinked across Ryan's network. They failed. She fought. And they lost. The sun rose slowly over the rooftops of Virel 9. It touched the glass towers with golden light. It warmed the stone alleys where she had once slept, half frozen, beside a trash bin. Now she stood in the center of the city square. Zara. The girl they left to die. The girl who returned. News had spread faster than they expected. Word of the failed capture. Word of how she stood and fought. Word that House Jurak's shame had become a symbol of resistance. At first, just the poor whispered her name, then the forgotten, then the broken, and finally, even the powerful had to say it. Zara. Now thousands had gathered in the square. Humans, aliens, mechanics, orphans, outcasts. Some carried signs, some brought gifts, some just came to look at the girl who wouldn't stay silent. A government drone hovered overhead. Do you have a statement for the people of Virel 9? It asked. Jack stood beside her, hands in his pockets. You don't have to speak if you don't want to. Zara stepped forward. She held nothing, no armor, no weapons, no titles, just her voice. I was born into a family that believed beauty was value, she said. They taught me that if you were different, you were nothing. She paused. The crowd leaned in closer. They threw me out when I was weak. They laughed at me when I cried. I begged, starved, and nearly died outside their golden doors. She looked up at the cameras. And now they want me back, not because they care, but because I shine now. Whispers moved through the crowd. Zara took a breath. But I didn't start shining because of them. She turned to Jack. I started shining because someone saw me when I was in the dark. Tears filled Jack's eyes, but he didn't speak. Zara turned back to the crowd. I'm not going back. I'm not becoming their puppet. I am not a price tag, a trophy, or a tool. She raised her voice now. I am not just beautiful. I am more than beautiful. Cheers exploded through the square. Some cried. Others shouted her name. The same city that once called her trash now called her hope. Later that day, a new banner appeared above the market road. It showed Jera's face, painted in deep color. Her scars were visible. Her eyes glowed bright. Her mouth was not smiling, but strong. Under the banner, someone had written, "You cannot erase a girl who became her own miracle." That night back at the workshop, Jack lit a candle. Jera sat at her usual corner, fixing a small broken comm device. Her tools were organized, her eyes calm. Jack smiled. You know, you're kind of famous now. She looked at him, amused. That's not what I wanted, but it's what you deserved. He reached into a drawer and pulled something out, a small metal plate. A name badge. It read, Jera, engineer, partner, survivor. She took it slowly. Her fingers ran over the words. No titles, no house name, just hers. She looked at Jack. Partner, he grinned. If you'll have me. Jera placed the badge beside her mirror. The mirror that once reflected a broken girl. Now it reflected a warrior. Outside, children played in the rain. No one told them to look away from her kind anymore. And far away in the halls of House Jurak, nobles whispered in fear. She's building something without us. Jera didn't just survive. She changed the world. And she did it without glowing skin, just a glowing soul.